This week on the Great Debaters Contest Golden Series, we feature innovation and technology.
Welcome to the Machakos County edition of the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Today we have Tala girls versus Ukia girls. Their motion is Africa should focus on innovations that improve the quality of life. Who will be the victor, Mariam?
Only one way to find out. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. This is by Brain Brown. Caroline Wavinya from Tala Girls here to propose the motion that says African countries should focus on innovations that improve the quality of life. On to my first point. High economic growth rates. For instance, irrigation and fertilizers, if they are used in wider parts of Africa to improve agricultural produce, this produce will be sold to other countries that is outside Africa, and thus will bring economic growth in Africa. On to my second point. Africa needs innovation that can bridge the employment gap. This can be catered for with industries, innovation of industries. What industries am I talking about? A very good example are coffee industries. Many countries in Africa produce coffee. They export it in the berry form. Do you not think that if these industries are innovated and brought to Africa and we export the finished product, will these industries not provide jobs to the 625 million Africans? On to my third point. Innovation can curb water problems in Africa. As we all know, water shortage is a big headache in Africa. And a water distiller innovated by Samuel Otukol from Uganda can help distill seawater into fresh water, thus making it good for domestic use. Innovation speeds up work. Innovation like tea harvesters. We all know that tea harvesting is tedious work. If innovations like tea harvesters can be used to pick tea, this will help meet deadlines with no straining at all. I'll finish by saying that without change, there is no innovation, creativity, or initiative for improvement. Those who initiate change have a better opportunity to manage change that is inevitable. I rest my case.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
Well, I've done away with that. Sincerely speaking, has that lowered my quality of life? It's a definite no. From Ukia Girls and Mr. Muli, strongly and here to oppose this motion that says African countries should focus on innovations that improve the quality of life. Look at the health. Look at how the health of Africans will deteriorate by having innovations on medicines. Look at how young people are suffering nowadays. A 2-year-old child is suffering of diabetes. Why? Think of junk foods. Think of sugary foods. This is all about innovations. Innovations that are making us not live long. Actually, we are coming to a point whereby the life expectancy will be like almost 30 years. And I'm really so surprised how I will stand to say that African countries should focus on innovations that improve the quality of life. In fact, they don't. In fact, they won't. Okay, I will also give you an example of someone, a person who had an industry that manufactured lead in Mombasa. Due to that manufacture of lead, the people around were affected by that. Some people died due to that. Last year, it was aired on KTN. So I don't see how we should sincerely talk about innovating things in Africa. Okay, I will talk about medicines. Look at how we have come up with medicines. Medicines that are full of chemicals. We are trying to kill people. We are trying to prevent people from living long. We better go for the herbal medicines. For example, I'll give you a neem tree. A neem tree can treat more than 40 diseases. But look at medicines which have many chemicals, but definitely I will take the medicine, but I wouldn't be well. I might not be well through the medicine. Then I'm told to go and pick other ones. And thus we are using our money and wasting it away. Okay, I will talk about education. Look at us innovating on education and claiming that we come up with ideas that will improve on education. At olden days, we used to have people writing their own thesis in the universities. But think of now, the whole issue is just about copy-pasting. We don't have any other issue. It's only that I'm going to sleep, wait for the lecturer to teach, but I know that definitely during the exams time, I will pass. Just simply because there is something that is somewhere that is going to help me to pass. Look at our president, Daniel Arap Moi. Daniel Moi has lived long. Why? It is due to the food that he used to take in past. It is due to what he had. I strongly think that African countries should not focus on innovations that will improve the quality of life. Thank you.
We'll hear rebuttals now. Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
I'd like to start by correcting my beautiful opponents. President Moi, as you said, he's not the current president, he's the former president. As I begin, Abigail Werimo Tala Girls, here to propose a motion. African countries should focus on innovation as a way to better our lives. On to my first point. There is now quick access to information. For example, breaking news. Breaking news spreads. For example, something happens maybe in another continent, or maybe in another country, maybe in Russia. The news reaches to us in just a couple of minutes or hours, simply because of this new innovation which has been put in place. Another point. Some innovations control air pollution. There are measures put in place to filter poisonous gases before they are emitted to the atmosphere, which actually prevents environmental pollution. Third point, we have gadgets as a product of innovations which speed up work. For example, calculators. Another good example, the computers and even the printers. If we did the work ourselves, which will otherwise be tiresome, but thanks to these gadgets, they make our lives better. Safaricom and Equitel, which is actually a local example, Safaricom and Equity Bank found out that they could help many people bank and do businesses with mobile phones. Now we have M-Pesa and M-Kesho. This allows people to deposit, send, and receive money through their phones. These services have generated enormous profits for both organizations. I have a quote. There is no innovation and creativity without failure. And a food for thought. Without this mic, which is actually an innovation, I'd be straining and shouting for you to hear me. So actually, I want to convince my fellow opponents, cross over to our side. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
Grace Musembi from Ukia Girls. First, I would like to contradict some of my fellows' points. They have said that through our innovation, we are going to increase in economic growth because you're going to have irrigation and fertilization. But first, do you want to tell me that all countries in Africa have rivers? Secondly, if we look at the innovation of fertilizers in our farms, they have wasted our soil. Instead of improving our soils, they have wasted our soils. Because if today I don't have money to acquire the fertilizers, my farm will give me totally nothing. Have I raised my life standards or have I lowered my life standards? They have also talked about innovation of industries. Yes, they are going to have innovation of industries. But think about the pollution, environment pollution. We are going to pollute our water. We are going to pollute our soil. And in that same soil is where we expect to plant our crops. They grow and we get high yield. But what will happen? It will give us nothing. What will our children feed on? They have also spoken about speeding up of work. But then, in every industry we have human labor. If we introduce things, if we introduce gadgets or maybe machines which are going to do this work, which is supposed to be done by human beings, which is supposed to be provided, this labor which is supposed to be provided by human beings, where will these men and women go? What will they feed their children with if they are not going to have that work to get the money to provide and cater for their family needs? Also, they have talked about computers. Yes, computers. But this one will increase laziness of students and pupils. Because first, if I know that very well, I have a computer and I can access to anything that I have. When my teacher gives me assignment, I will not waste my mind. I will go to the computer, I will open it up, and I will steal the answers. I will just get them straight forward without struggling. And these will lead to unqualified people in future. Because you just stole, you have done nothing, you don't have idea of what you are doing. And also, to increase, because the Swahili people say that mwambangozi uvuta kwake. If we introduce these electric whatevers, like the computers and the laptops, we have information of terrorism there. And our youth are going to be pushed to register themselves in those terrorism groups, and that will increase death in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, audience, for those questions. The proposition have been asked how the hand-picking methods of tea have been replaced, and the opposition have been asked on whether the environmental degradation caused by industries isn't already regulated. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Cynthia Mtisia, Tala Girls High School. I'm here to take you through the question that my fellow client, if I may call him so, has asked, that about tea harvesters. There's one thing that you have not gotten well. Let me first take you through what is innovation. Innovation is creativity, introducing something new to our customs. Innovation of tea harvesters. Who has said about robots? So many things are coming up, so creative that people have thought in high schools, just like you. Okay, there's this tea harvester that is starting in Saudi Arabia. They're collecting tea. We are not replacing their human labor. We are actually easing their work, making them to harvest more, quality, and with time, just like this watch, innovated. Okay, to my points. Okay, I will really love to correct my fellow opposers. They have actually tried to say that irrigation and fertilizers, they are not part of innovation. They make our health bad. But actually, because of these fertilizers, we get to grow quality stuff that we export, that we don't need to import, making us earn more foreign exchange to help the poor, build the industries, and build more schools for us to learn. Okay, and irrigation. Irrigation, we have not said that all parts of Africa have water, e.g. Turukana, but because of this innovation, we can get to bring the water closer to us so that we can grow crops for us to eat, students to grow, just like me. We all go to science contest, isn't it? We all struggle that hard to find just that little knowledge that nobody knows about so that you can go and become creative. You want to stand out before all schools. Because of this creative mind of yours, of which you're not saying that innovation of computers is taking it away of you, it's taking it away from you. It's actually helping you to make it more big, wild, crazy, to make you noticeable. I will take a very good example of the M-Pesa, M-Shwari that my colleagues is actually talking about. This is actually somebody who's in campus, who's growing, reading, at the same time, he's using his mind to make it easier for his life. Innovation helps us to move from one place to another, for us to progress. Without innovation, who knows? We could have not been here. The microphone, the cameras. I'd like to give you an example, a quote that says, changes calls for innovation, and innovation leads to progress. Without innovation, no progress.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond.
My name is Zipara Paul from Ukia Girls Secondary School. You asked the quantity of medicine I have taken and the quantity of herbal medicine that I have taken since childhood. Just take a look at my size. This is as a result of innovation. My mom really gave me a lot of vitamins and everything. On the issue about pollution, okay, I think you've gone to Nairobi. We have many industries in Nairobi. And for instance, I think you've seen the kind of climate we have there. There's this dust all over. You go there, you can't go with your kid. You just cover them up and everything. So I think these industries are really bringing out the issue of pollution and bringing out respiratory diseases. This innovation has really brought about individualism. For instance, remember the olden days. Children were communally owned. If I find someone in a mistake, I just correct them. Look at what is happening nowadays. I'm just there. If I find someone's kid, they've done a mistake, I cannot punish them. If I dare do that, I'm just sued. Seriously. Is that improving the quality of life? It has also brought about social classes. We have the rich, the poor. In the olden community, in the olden days, we used to have meetings and everything. You find that you can just wake up in the morning and go check on your neighbors. But today, this is not really happening. It is just man for himself and God for us all. Seriously. I just don't think this thing is working out. How can you just sit there and watch other people? You don't even know whether your neighbor slept well, whether they are sick or not. I just want to rest my case, and I think you should think about it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hear closing submissions. Proposition, you have a minute.
Once again, Cynthia Mtisia, summing up. Okay, we have heard so much about innovation. But come to think of it, there's no innovation without failure, period. There's nothing that you can have good. There's nothing that you can get in a silver platter. We must sacrifice to get better. We have not refused that we have industry that pollute the air. But due to that, we have filters. Yes, they're not that effective, but at least they help. I know most of you here have phones, and phones are part of innovation, just like this one of mine. Phones. Without phones, so many things could have not been accessed. So many. Just like Lot's wife turned back in the biblical story, if you read the Bible, she turned back and she turned to a pillar of salt for ages. The moment that us as Africans, we stop embracing innovation, that's the moment that we'll step back in our society. Innovation has actually made us progress as Africans. At least for now, we don't depend on them. Us. Okay? So innovation is just the best progress in Africa that we need.
Opposition, you have a minute as well.
Let's just get back to the olden days where we used to have healthy people, where we used to have people eat root tubers, where we used to have people just putting on clothes that are made of baby skins, where we never used to have people suffering from diseases like diabetes, cancer, and such kind of diseases. Remember, old is gold. If only we just use whatever we have, we're just going to get far. Thank you.
Tala girls. Caroline, I prefer if you mapped out your arguments, that you look at innovation in terms of various sectors, maybe say health sector, transport sector, industrial sector. You see, mapping out the arguments and then pick the health sector, expound on it, appeal to us emotionally. Abigail, I love the fact that examples came from you. Fair presentation. I think the best debater in your team was Cynthia. I mean, passionate, convincing, very eloquent, and some relevant examples that came from you. And I love the fact that you're able to identify with Science Congress. You know, it's an annual activity, and the fact that many people go there, and that is a forum that allows young people to innovate. You see, it's something that is current, it's something that you identify with the students. That was commendable job from Tala girls.
I'll just address Ukia girls. There were two ways at looking at it. One of them is that innovations do not improve the quality of life, and so there is no need for African nations to focus on them. And so if that is the case, then what is it that is likely to improve the quality of life, which Africa should focus on? Or secondly, that Africa should focus on other innovations, because quality of life in Africa is already there. It's guaranteed with regards to whatever it is that exists. And so whatever innovations the African continent should focus on should be on other areas. And then you go on and enumerate the areas. And for me, that was the missing link.
Ukia girls, you were awarded 63%. Please give them a round of applause. Tala girls, you have 69%. You're our winners for the debate.
Thank you to both teams for an interesting debate, and of course, bravo to the ladies of Tala. And thank you at home for watching and tuning in. Find us on Twitter at Great Debaters EA. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.